You guys have a good group here, and a lot of good energy, I noticed, in the discussions. And a little battle of the sexes going on, too. I like that. That was sweet. So my name is Bjorn. I am Swedish originally. That's why I have such a weird name. And the name means bear in Swedish, which was kind of appropriate because as a child, I was very chubby. I was a very, very chubby little baby. And in fact, it would be fair to say that I was fat. I was a fat baby. I was so fat that I couldn't really move a whole lot. My mother told me about this, that I could never actually crawl because my stomach would kind of sweep on the ground, and it would, and so I was basically immobile for the longest time because I just couldn't crawl, and so I was a very frustrated fat little baby, and my mother said that I sat in this kind of frustrated fat silence until one day I pulled myself up and started to walk prematurely because I was so frustrated with being, like not being able to do anything, just being stuck, like just sitting all the time. So I actually walked prematurely, and that was my first experience of meeting a challenge in life, meeting a setback, and being able to surmount that challenge, to be able to rise to the occasion quite literally, and learn that lesson in life that often when we're faced with challenges, when we're faced with difficulties, if we really put the effort in there, we're able to surmount them. Life rewards us. God rewards our determination, our strength in facing those kinds of challenges. And we have several challenges today. I mean, it's a new year. It's a new dawn. It's time to tackle the challenges that are in front of us. And often they're very difficult, and we have a lot to surmount, a lot to basically attack. Now, I'd like us to, I don't know if you have Bibles with you. Those of you that do, let's turn to Matthew 17, verses 1 through 8, and I'm reading through the English Standard Version. Matthew 17, verses 1 through 8. Everybody almost kind of there? Matthew 17, verses 1 through 8. And after 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter and James and John, his brother, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. And he was transfigured before them, and his face shone like the sun, and his clothes became white as light. Just imagine that. And behold, there appeared to them Moses and Elijah talking with him. And Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good that we are here. If you wish, I will make 3 tents here, one for you, and one for Moses, and one for Elijah." He was still speaking when, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and a voice from the cloud said, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I'm well pleased. Listen to him." When the disciples heard this, they fell on their faces and were terrified, but Jesus came and touched them, saying, "Rise and have no fear." And when they lifted up their eyes, they saw no one but Jesus only. Now, to me, this is one of the most surprising, weird, supernatural passages in the Bible. It just is absurd. Imagine yourself on a mountaintop with your favorite mentor. You're on a hike. I mean, this is good hiking territory around here in Paradise. I just moved up from LA, so I'm loving the wilderness feel. I really love it. Imagine you're on a hike with a mentor, and all of a sudden, their face and their clothes turn white as the sun, and 2 random dudes from history turn up, just appear. I mean, I would be petrified. It would be really, really scary. Just imagine what these disciples were going through. It's kind of weird. If you look at biblical symbolism, mountaintops, I mean, we often associate mountaintops with good experiences in our lives, right? Like, oh, it was a mountaintop experience. It was so beautiful. It was so inspiring. But mountaintops in biblical language are not fun. They're the opposite of fun. I mean, think of Abraham having to sacrifice his own son on a mountain. I mean, that was sickening. That was gruesome. That was horrible. That was a terrible, terrible thing to have to go through. Think of Elijah having to call down fire from heaven on the sacrifice. I mean, it was petrifying. It was one of those mountaintop experiences, a challenge, a setback, a hard time that you go through in the Bible. And now we think of Jesus and the disciples just scared out of their minds at this mountaintop experience, this challenge in their lives. And often the human reaction in our experience to this kind of challenge is distress. We're scared, we're petrified. We don't know what to do. I mean, think to your biggest challenges in life. Think to those things that scare you the most. I'm sure we each have them in our lives right now. Things that are really scary, relationships, schoolwork, family, future. I mean, those are often very, very scary things that touch us to the core. And I know that each of us here know what I'm talking about. Profoundly impacting things in our lives that really, really are huge mountaintop experiences, if you like, for us. Now, the reaction is often to stress. It's being scared, being freaked out, if you like. I mean, look at Peter's response. Everybody, look at verse 4. It is absurd. And Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good that we are here. If you wish, I will make 3 tents here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." Really? I mean, Peter has lost his mind. When you see God himself being transformed, his clothes turning light and his face shining up like the sun, and Elijah and Moses turn up, you suggest a construction project? I mean, seriously, like what was he thinking? What was he thinking? And just think about the times in your lives when you just react stupidly to a situation. You know, because you're so scared you do something you did not mean to do. Now, I often did this in high school. I would do it out of frustration. Like I'd tell my physics teacher in front of everybody in the class, you know, "Why are you giving us this homework? Why are you testing us on this stuff? We will never use it. Why are you doing that to me?" And often he would mercifully kind of stop me. You know, "Okay, you're going to stop right there, Bjorn. You're going to come back for detention, and we're going to work this one out." And God stops Peter, like mercifully. I think this is, evidence of God having a sense of humor, because he stops Peter almost mid-sentence, and he just says, "This is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased." And Peter falls to the ground out of fear and possibly embarrassment, because he's been cut off. He's been cut off by God. Okay? So God mercifully saves him from this embarrassing experience when he's challenging or when he's just like absurdly reacting to situations. When we are faced with difficult experiences in our lives, when we're faced with mountaintop experiences, we often react with distress and just bewilderment at the situation. Now, I find it interesting that there seem to be 3 lessons in the passage for how to deal with for dealing with these kinds of situations in our lives. So just let's think about them and think about how we can apply them to our lives. Now, it seems like the first lesson is in what Jesus says: "Rise and have no fear." First of all, rise. One of the things that I love best about America, and I can say this because I'm not American, and because I spent most of my life wanting to get to America. I grew up a missionary kid, and I had American friends growing up. I grew up in Hong Kong in the Philippines about the first 12 years of my life. And then after that, I went to high school in Britain. And all that time, I was absolutely determined to get to the U.S. one day. I said, I will go to college in the U.S., and I will stay in the U.S. Whatever it takes, I'm going to do it. Right? So I told myself, I've got to work my butt off in college, get a job, and stay in the United States. And that was the plan. Luckily, so far, it's worked. But the reason that I wanted to come to America, the reason that I wanted to come to this country was that you have a can-do-itness in this country that I haven't seen anywhere else. I mean, yes, you can be a success anywhere in life and anywhere in the world, but there's something in America that says, if I have a plan and God is with me, I can do it. You know what I mean? This can-do-itness. I will do it. If you get knocked down, you just get up again, and you keep doing that until you get there. That is a fundamental American truth, right? That's something that we believe in this country. And that inspired me, and that made me want to come here. And it looks like that is something Jesus says we should do. That's the kind of attitude we should have in the face of obstacles, in the face of difficulties. Get up, rise, he's saying. Get up and go again. When you get knocked down, just get up and go again. So rise, he's saying.